So we are recording now. Um, if you guys, okay, yeah. Hi, welcome to my class. Who am I? I don't know. Where am I? Here we go. So this is the summer semester. Well, I guess I need to watch my language. This is from probably the worst year in recorded history that I've been teaching. This virus has sure played a mess with things. It does affect our class, even though I've been teaching online ever since I started teaching. So the switch from in-person to online was not a huge factor to me, but where it did impact my class was in the exams, and we'll cover that in a little bit. So anyway, this is engineering 1030 and engineering 1040 are both I have you cross-listed into one Canvas site that makes my life easier. I only have to post things once. The two classes are identical. You have the same homework, the same exams for the first two-thirds of the course. After the second exam, Engineering 1030 will continue with MATLAB through the end. One of the questions I get on the final is it a comprehensive final? Basically, for MATLAB, kind of, sort of, but not really. It will focus mostly on the material covered from the second exam till the final. However, the stuff you learn in the first exam and the second exam is building blocks to get you to where you can do the stuff in the last third, if that makes sense. As far as the 1040 class goes, once we take the exam 2, you will be leaving MATLAB behind. The final will consist only in Excel. We started with a new textbook last semester. Hopefully, I think I'm positive that I got the syllabus updated with the new textbook, because I thought I did last semester, and then when it came to the final time, my students are saying, well, that does not cover the stuff we covered in class, and that was because somebody went to the syllabus and bought it out of the syllabus so it wasn't updated, and others went to the bookstore and got what was. So this is the correct textbook for the Excel. If you're in 1030, you do not need to buy this. This is only for Excel. We'll go over a little bit of the layout of Canvas here in just a second. So as far as the exams go, until the second exam last semester, all of the exams for this online class were held in the testing centers, which was really nice. I just sent them the test and told them, okay, make it available to my students from this day to this day, give them 2 hours, and then I didn't have to deal with it. However, because of the quarantining and the shutting down of all facilities on campus, testing was it was very interesting last semester. So what I did is I trusted my students, and I probably will do that again this semester. I will give you 2 hours to take the test at home. You'll let me know when you're ready. I will send you the exam. You'll have 2 hours to take the exam and submit it back in. And then I'm trusting you not to share it with your classmates. It seemed to work last semester. I felt very confident that there were no breaches in security and that everything went as it should have, and I was very pleased. And from reading your guys' intros, I think we got a good class this semester also. So, and until I hear otherwise from the department, that's probably what we'll end up doing. You guys take the online course. Of course, this semester, I mean, you're taking the online course because that's all there is. Um, Generally, in a normal semester, my students come to the online class because they just can't fit a structured class in their schedule. If it comes to it, I will, if I could set up a given 2 hour, okay, you need to be online from this point to this point to take the exam. But I don't see that coming. So the syllabus is here. Read it over. Um, okay, let's go back into the Canvas site here a little bit. On the home page, the last 3 announcements that I make will always be at the top of the home page. I do a lot of announcements, so make sure you check those regularly, especially with the online meetings. I will try my best to hold this every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, unless you guys come up and say, hey, that doesn't work for us, can we do it at this time? I'm very flexible. Okay, I'm still working from home, have been for, oh goodness, probably 3 months now, and they tell me now I'm on stage 3, so I have no idea when I'm going back to the office. I got mixed emotions about that. I'm tired of looking at my basement walls, but I really don't want to go to work either. So anyway, announcements are here. Keep an eye on those. If you scroll down here, if you start here, this will bring you into this page that has the syllabus and the schedule. The schedule will download in a Word document, and it is up to date. What? Oh, okay. It's up to date with the assignments when they're due. This is one of the things I had to do in those 4 days, so it is all set to go. Now keep in mind, I tried to make them all due on the same day, but in the summer semester we cover the same amount of material as we do in the spring and fall, but in a lot less, well, not a lot, but a little bit shorter time frame. So some of these assignments had to stack on top of each other. I am aware of that, and I'm very flexible with the late penalty towards the end of the semester as you're trying to get through all these assignments that are like one right after another. So try to keep up, because this class does get I don't need that anymore. If you fall behind, it's really hard to get caught back up again. So anyway, here's a syllabus for 1030 and the 1040. There is tutoring help. This link would take you to give you a location on campus where you can go in for tutoring. Obviously that's not open, but there is information on getting online help through that link. This is something Holly put in. I have no idea. So if you want the institutional syllabus, it's over here on this toolbar right here, institutional syllabus. Couple of more important links on this page. If you want to get into the chapter modules to work through this chapter by chapter, you can come here and just work your way through. So right here is where it splits after the second exam. This is 1030 and these are 1040. I hope I have everything set up. 1030 students should not see homework assignments in their Canvas for Excel, and 1040 should not see chapter 11 through 14 homework. If you do, please don't wait till the last day of class to let me know. I'm trying my bestest to keep up to date on everything, and I'd like to say, I just passed a online teaching credentials class, and I learned a lot, and hopefully I applied all that learning to this semester and things are more gooder. Okay, so back here on the home page, this link right here is really cool for you guys. It's resources. Remote access, you shouldn't have to deal with remote access. If you're using all access, I'd have to ask why. MathWorks is giving you free copy and free access to MATLAB online. It's a web-based, and I think even maybe a download to use for the year. I do have one of the announcements with the information for downloading their Corona package that'll get you through the end of June. And then I did hear from Holly that the signing of the funding for getting MATLAB campus-wide has been done. So now we're just waiting for the information on how to access it. This link will take you to all the streaming videos for MATLAB. There are no videos for Excel. If you are working in a textbook that is not the 5th edition, okay, 4th edition is questionable. Anything older than 4th edition, you're going to have issues with MATLAB, because this ribbon up here changed completely between the 3rd and 4th editions. So it'll tell you to hit something up here and you won't be able to find it unless you are using an older version of MATLAB. Can you use an older version of MATLAB? Yes, you can, because the M file that you will submit I can open from any version you have. But there are some things in the homework, like the live editor, that are not available in the earlier versions. So if you are using an earlier version, you still have to do the 5th edition homeworks, and here's a list of them. I believe they're in PDF format, and this will give you all the homework assignments. So the reason you have to do this is because there are some homeworks that are assigned in these files that are not in the older one. Okay, cool. So we did have one student that did download MATLAB from MathWorks. So I would recommend that over using All Access. Why? The two reasons. One, especially if you're on a Mac, the thing I hear most from Mac users is they have difficulty getting their local drives connected so that they can save their work from All Access to their local drives, and then they end up losing it and have to do it over. And I hate to tell a student they have to do it over, but you know, if I can't see that they've done it. And then two, this hasn't been such an issue lately, but there in the beginning days, there were times where All Access would just up and quit right in the middle of assignment, and they're not finished and they haven't saved, and so they have to start all over. As long as you're getting a free copy of the software to use at home, I highly recommend using that. If you still want to use All Access, you can do that too. Just beware, in the announcements there is somewhere in here, right here, important access to local drives when using All Access. This will give you the instructions that I received from the IT department at the Redwood campus on what they need to do. And that one should have come out already. I don't think that one was on a timer. Okay, anything else? Okay, yeah. Practice exercises. The practice exercises in all the chapters from 2 to 13. Not all the practice exercises, but all those chapters will have practice exercises that are assigned, and they do need to be turned in. They're worth 10 points each, and it could drop you a full grade if you don't do them. They're only worth 10 points because if you come to this homework assignments tab, right here is the solutions to the practice exercises. So if you're cruising along and you're stuck, you know, this doesn't mean that you still can't reach out to me. I can still help you, but the solutions are right here if I'm unable to get to you. And this is for all of the chapters between 2 and 13, obviously in PDF format. So just remember that resource is there available for you. And then most of you have already found this one. This one tells you how to get online with me. If you want to go online with me, just shoot me an email inside of Canvas. I get notifications on my iPad, and I can always just come downstairs and jump online. I'm more than happy to work with you online. And then there's some extra credits in here. And then this one here, this will take you to a page where I will post links to all the videos that I record from these online sessions. Okay, cool. Um, so they'll all be on here. I also have some other videos that I made early on that I'll post on here too. One of them is dealing with loading data files into MATLAB. It seems to be a troublesome spot for some students, especially when we're trying to load in Excel files into MATLAB. I have a short video that'll take you through it. It'll show you how to upload text files, .dat, and Excel files into MATLAB. And I'll put that on here probably in the next week. Why isn't it on there now? I don't know. It should be on there, but I guess I took it out. So I'm guessing most of you are familiar with Canvas by now. Community College has been using it for a long time. If there's something you don't see or you're confused about, reach out to me. If you see mistakes, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy, because I like to try and fix the mistakes so that other students, don't have that problems. Now, I know on I think it was, well, there was one of the quizzes. I think it was on the quiz on chapter 1. There was a mistake, and it just boggles my mind. We've been using that. Like I say, this is a site that Holly created, and we've been using this for many semesters. And this is the first semester that somebody pointed out that, hey, there's a mistake on one of the problems. And I went in and checked it, and yes, there was a mistake, and it has been repaired. If you took the quiz before that, you still got credit. If you took the quiz after that, you'll never notice that the mistake was there. So why'd you bring it up? Because I do silly things. Okay, so I think that's about it on Canvas. Now let's get into the MATLAB. So this is MATLAB. I'm running 2019B. I'm not sure if there's a newer version available or not, which like I say, it doesn't matter which version you're using. I should be able, because we don't get into the really advanced programming in MATLAB that would require me to make sure that I'm a version ahead of you. Unlike my SolidWorks class. I mean, SolidWorks, okay, we won't go down that road. That's a nasty place. So anyway, so this is MATLAB. I try to keep my setup pretty much the way the students do, so that as you're watching me, you don't have to try and hunt and find things. Well, where did he get that? The only difference are these shortcuts that I created up here. I have these for my grading. It makes life a lot easier. This one is for when we get into writing user-defined functions. This one clears all the figures. These are for grading, and then this one I created clears the memory, clears the command window, sets the format back to the format that I like. But you don't have to do those. You won't need those. So that's the only thing you should see that's different on mine as opposed to your versions of MATLAB. Assuming that I don't know which version did they have you download, you guys? Okay, so I'm a version behind. So after tonight, I will go upload the latest version, and then I should be the same as you guys. Okay, cool. So so this is MATLAB. So what do we do in MATLAB? MATLAB is a mathematical laboratories. It does mathematics using matrices. That's the mat part. MATLAB really handles matrices really well. And the first time I was into MATLAB, it was a little bit confusing, but after a while, it becomes pretty straightforward. So a few things you need to set up before you get going on your homework. First is your current folder. You want to have your current folder set to wherever you are planning on saving your homework. Okay, because when you're doing coding in MATLAB, and you call a function. If it's not a standard function inside of MATLAB, it'll go to the current folder looking for that function or a program of that, or file of that name, and if it can't find it, it's going to kick up an error. When we get to loading data files, all your data files need to be in the current folder, because that's where MATLAB will go to look for that data file. Now, there is a way to specify the path where you're saving your data files separate from your homework. Some of my advanced students know how to do this, but I tell you, it's a major pain in my keister when I'm grading, because they'll set it up for a folder that's on their computer, but when I get to grading it, that folder doesn't exist on my computer and it throws up an error. So I would ask that you just use the current folder for your data files. How do you set your current folder? I will show you how to set your current folder. Okay, if you come right up here onto this link here, there's a browse for folder button. You just click that and navigate to where you want to save all your data files. I just so happen to have I used to have on my desktop MATLAB Online, so this is where I keep all my files for teaching these online sessions. So it keeps growing every semester. So now anything that I open and save will default to the current folder. Well, not necessarily open, but whenever I save a new file, it will save to the current folder. Okay. So now you're asking, well, how do we do our homework? Okay, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it. There are several ways in which you can do your homework here. One is you could just do it right here in the command window. Okay, this is just an instantaneous calculation. As soon as you type it in and hit the return, it does the calculation for you. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, and then you could also come up here and save this somehow. I don't know how students do it. I get this from them all the time. But what it does is it just saves all this, and I can't grade that. It is a nightmare to grade. So what I need you to do is to work in an M file or a LiveScript editor. Okay, so we'll cover the M files first. If you hit the new script right here, it'll open up an editor. And this is what is the M file. When you save it, it comes with an extension of .m. That's why it's called an M file. You could also do the new script, LiveScript. Functions we'll cover in another chapter. So you can hit Control N to open another one, or once this is open, you can hit the plus and open as many windows as you want. If you want to do a live editor, come back to the home and hit the new LiveScript, and that will bring up this. What's the difference? I will tell you what the difference is. Okay, when you're in an M file and you type in your code, and you notice I hit return, nothing happens. Okay, so oh, let's give that a different value. Oh, let's assign it to something. That's what we should do. Yeah. Okay, so see, nothing happens. But okay, that happened because I hit a shortcut key. I hit Control Enter. Control Enter will execute everything in that cell. And right now we've only got the one cell. I will show you in a second how to make new cells. So you can either hit the Control Enter, or you can go back to the Editor tab and hit Run Section, or you can hit Run, but this is going to ask you to save it first. So when saving files, you must use the same structure as variables. It must start with a letter, and you can only use letters, numbers, and the underscore. The reason being is that in MATLAB, see, I can close this here, and I can close this here, And now I can come over here and type in demo 2020, and it goes in here, it opens up that file, it executes it, and then closes it and gives us the output here. So it treats it as if it was a variable, and so it must have a valid file name. That means no periods, no pound signs, no parentheses, pound sign, or hashtag, or octothorpe, take your pick on that. But yeah, no special characters, only the underscore, letters, and numbers. And MATLAB is good at telling you when you don't have a valid file name, because if you were to try to save this as a an invalid name, so like if I took out the underscore, it would pop up and say, look, that's not a valid. So then you can come in here and change it, and I'll just add 2 underscores so it'll save. And so it will warn you that you don't have a valid file name. Okay, so cells. What's a cell? A cell is a group of text, or code. So let's say that R equals 1 to 100, and semicolons, we'll cover semicolons in a second. T equals R raised to the deuce, and then we're just going to do a simple plot of R and T. Okay, so there's a group of, and so you want to run this. So you hit the control enter and it runs, and oh, it didn't like it because this is a vector, so it has to have the operator, and so now we should get a nice little plot. Okay, but let's say you had 500 lines of code and you just wanted to see what these were going to do. You don't want to run all 500 lines of those codes. So if you start a line with 2% signs and a space, now you notice this here turned yellow because this is a different cell than this one. So if we put down here k equals 100, if we hit you hit run, it does the same thing, but if you hit the run section, it's only going to run this code here, and you notice it stayed yellow. That means that the control is still in that cell. Let's dock this over here so we don't have to keep closing it. But if you wanted to run this section and then advance to this one, you hit this one, it ran that code, and then advanced to that one, and now it runs the next code. Okay, any questions on that? Again, the shortcut is control enter to do a single cell, and you can hit that as many times as you want, or if you do control shift enter, we'll do the control execute and advance. And this is very useful for when you're trying to debug a large. Yes, we can do 3-dimensional plots. That comes in chapter 4, I believe, assignment 5, or is that chapter 6, assignment 5? I think it's chapter. Yeah. Man, you're not supposed to ask the teacher hard questions. Where's my textbook? Somebody ate my textbook. Let's see. User defines chapter. Yeah, chapter 5 is plotting, so that would be assignment 6. Yeah, we get into some really neat, nifty 3D plots. So that's cells, and if you wanted to, you could label this, so like this is problem 2.6. As long as there is a space between the parenthesis and your first character, that's what defines a cell. If that space is gone, it just reads it as a comment. Okay. Okay, we won't crucify you then. Yeah. Okay. So we create a cell in the current folder, creating M files, element operator. So you noticed up here when I did this first, I didn't have that period between the R and the caret. Without that, um, this code is telling MATLAB to take this vector and do matrix algebra on it and square it, which is impossible because the numbers in the matrix don't line up to allow it to be, and it's not what we wanted anyway. We wanted to square each individual element inside of R, so that's where the dot comes from. So if you're doing any kind of mathematical operations on a vector or a matrix, bringing it to a power, multiplying two together that are the same size, um, you need to have that element operator to do it element by element. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I think, and also another one that comes up in one of our assignments. I think it's assignment 3. You need to divide by a.
Everyone else is now muted.
You need to divide by a matrix or vector, and you just can't do that. It is impossible. It's like trying to divide by 0. You just can't do it. So if you're trying to divide by a vector or matrix, you need to use an element operator to make it do element by element. Semicolons. Okay, semicolons, when you put it at the end of the line, you notice down here I didn't put one and it still worked. Up here I put these semicolons here. What the semicolon does is it suppresses the output to the command window. So if you remove that semicolon, now it will show you a whole bunch of garbage. Okay, I like semicolons on the development lines, where you're establishing and defining variables and doing the mathematics, but I've got to have the results printed to the command window so I can see that everything was done correctly. I've been grading these homework problems for so long, I know what the answers are supposed to be, so I can execute your code, and if it's the right answer, I don't have to go through and look at each and every character or line of code in your problems to see that they were done right. But if you see this little orange tick over here in this line and you put your cursor on it, it says terminate it with a semicolon. Okay, that's not an order, it's only a suggestion. You can or you can't. And like I say, in the calculation lines, that's fine, but a final solution, I've got to see it in the command window. So please don't, because if you do, then I just have to go through and remove them all when I'm grading, and that makes the grader grumpy, and there's nothing worse than a grumpy grader. So what do we turn in? Oh, let's go. Okay, so this is the M file. So in order to see the results from the M file, you've got to execute the code, and it'll display over here in the command window. Now, if you're using the live editor, you have 3 options over here. You can have code on this side, output over here, or you can have the output underneath your code. This is the way I always do it when I'm grading. Or you can just hide the code and see the answers. That does me no good. So what the live editor does is you can come in here and let's do pi by pi divided by 100 to pi to pi by 100. That's not going to go very far. How about we do a negative pi and do k equals the cosine of, what was that, y? Okay, and then we'll plot y and k. Okay, so you'll notice that the answers and everything came inside of the live editor. It's not in the command window. The only time the output will come over to the command window is when you're looking for an input from the user, it'll come over here so that the user can put their input, and then everything will go back into here. This is how the exams will be. They will be given to you in a live editor. That way I can go through when I'm grading it. I can show you what I seen as I was grading it, and I think that helps you to understand if I'm taking points. Makes it easier for me to point out. So, hey, is it possible to switch from one to the other? Yes, it is. So if you're in an M file and you want to turn this into a live editor, just right mouse click on the tab and go down here, open as a live editor or live script, and that'll bring it in as a live script. And then going back is yeah, you can't do it off of that. You have to go backwards. You have to come up here and do a save as, and save it as an M file. So it's a lot harder to go backwards from live editor than it is to go forward. So what do you submit? So you're going to see mainly these two types of files in your folder when you're working. You're going to have the .m file and an ASV file. The ASV file will probably disappear once I close this. What it is it's an automatic backup file that MATLAB creates. Let's say you've spent hours on your homework and you've been saving as you go, but you get to the end and something happens and crashes and you've lost your file. That's when you come into your folder and you look for the ASV file, and you just change this to an M, and we'll have to give it another name because there's already a file there. And you now have a recovery of what was there the last time MATLAB saved. I have saved a lot of work because of that ASV file. I don't need those turned in unless you've lost your file and that's all you have. That'll at least give you most of your credit for your assignment because I can grade what's there. So turn in the M file. If you're doing the live editor, it'll be a .mlx. Turn that in. When we get into the chapter loading data files, if you use the same name of the data files that is available for download, I won't need those, but if you change the name to something different, I will need your data file as well. I think that's it. Are there any questions, comments, wants, needs, desires, concerns, complaints? Let me unmute you guys.
Everyone else is now unmuted.
Okay, now the question and answers time.
All right. So how did you? Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you save that file if it's in a live editor?
In the live editor, you can just hit the save button on here, and that'll save.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
And that'll save it as a .mlx. See, there it is right up the top.
All right. And another question. So you want us to group the separate question answers by using that %, double % of the space
Yes.
to separate it into
Yes, please. I
Okay.
would like each problem separated into its own cell with the problem number listed. That way, because before I didn't really care, but it gets really hard to determine which problem starts and ends if they're not broken up. And if you don't want to use cells, that's fine. I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but you got to at least give me a comment with the problem numbers, because once that's done, I can just do a find here, and I mean, I've been doing this for so long, I know how to do it, and I'll just come in and change all your comments into cells.
All right. That sounds good. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yep. Just one more, important thing. Remember that I am one of your resources. I don't expect you to do this all on your own. If you're struggling, racking your head against the wall because you just can't figure something out, 9 times out of 10, I'm up until midnight every night anyway. Send me a message. And as long as I'm working from home, I can take a few minutes out of my time during the day, join you online, help you out. That's what I'm here for. So it's heart wrenching to see a homework turned in only half done with the comment that I didn't know how to do this. Well, the first thing you got to learn is to contact me. I want to help. I've been doing these things for so long. Literally, when I started with Holly teaching the online classes, I was on the other side of my basement here on a computer with a dial-up connection with MSN Messenger to communicate with the students. We didn't have any kind of set, thing like Canvas. We eventually turned into Blackboard, which then went into Canvas. So it doesn't hurt me to help you guys. I noticed a lot of the comments in the introduce yourself about this is the first time you've taken a programming class. You should be okay. I think the hardest part of this course, at least for the 10th, the spot where the students struggle the most is in chapters, I think it's 7 and 8, or it's 8 and 9. It's in the do-while loops, the for loops, the if statements, doing those kinds of things. That's where they struggle the most. There is a lot of homework assigned with this. Again, I didn't set this up. This was set up by the department. But I am very lenient on the grading. Do your best. I give mostly full credit. If there's nothing done, I can't give you credit for it. And that goes for the exams too.
Nice. Well, I do have another question.
Okay, you've used all your questions for today. You have to wait till next week.
well, there's that.
Okay, sure. What's your question?
So I downloaded the MATLAB version that says that you said that it loses access at the end of May.
June.
Am I gonna lose my homework progress because of that?
No, you should
when
be
it
able to
terminates?
save your homework on your own hard drives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you're saving your homework on your hard drive, come June when the license ends on that one, hopefully before then, which I'm pretty sure it will be here in the next week or two, you'll have the full campus access, which you can then just change over to that come the end of June.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think I understood how to save the file, but I'm using the online version, so I don't think it's saving to the hard drive, or at least I can't find where it is on the
Okay.
hard drive.
I probably should have done so before, but as soon as this meeting is over, I will download the online version and check it out and find out what needs to be done. And then I will get back to you. I will post, if I need to, I'll make a video and post it. But I'll have something on there before I go to bed tonight.
And you also said that I can just turn my homework as it is right now, because I
Right.
was just putting it into the Word doc.
Right.
Is that fine, or will I lose credit
No,
for
no. For
question
the first
21?
assignment, because we didn't have this meeting, I didn't lay out how it should be done. I'll take anything. I'll take anything on the first assignment. I may make a comment, but it's not mean to be demeaning. It's just just so that I know that, hey, look, I've told this person that, because sometimes I tell these people 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and they still. When it really comes down to it's got to be done in an M file is when we get into the user-defined functions and loading of date files, because it just won't work if it's not done in an M file.
One last question.
Sure.
one of the problems on the homework is to create a table or something, and I was wondering, like, I still didn't get my order of my textbook.
Right.
So is there like a
Oh,
video online that I could
um,
watch on that?
well, I can show you that, but that's one thing I should have showed here on the website too. In the resources for this course, if you do not have your textbook yet, you're still waiting for it to arrive. If you come in here to the resources for this course off of the main homepage, right down here at the bottom is the first 3 chapters of the 5th edition textbook. So this will get you through the first 2
That's
assignments.
very helpful.
Yeah, so that's there. So creating a table. Okay, I know what they're wanting, and I think that this problem is poorly worded because you're not really creating a table. You're just creating a matrix with 2 columns, and um, um, table is a function name. Oh, that's another thing we ought to talk about too. Um, is just, whoops, come on, hit the right button. So we're just gonna bring in my R and we're gonna transpose it because the way it's written in here, it's a column or row vector. I wanted a column, so by putting a single quotation mark transposes it, and then I'm gonna put next to it T, and I'm also gonna transpose that, and I'm putting that inside of square brackets. So that will create a matrix that is 2 columns wide and however many, I guess 100 rows deep. Let's just for clarity take and make that only 10 values. And so now when we run that, what? Oh, that's supposed to be an equals, not a minus, you idiot. Hey, don't call me that, it hurts my feelings. So this is what it's asking you to do. That's basically the table. When we get into chapter 7, I believe, maybe it is 8 and 9 that's the problem ones. It's chapter 7. Yeah, chapter 7 is where you learn how to format the output, and you will be creating tables that actually have a title and column headers and all this data, and where you can control the output. But for this assignment, this is all it's asking you to do, is basically create a matrix out of these 2 vectors. So, oh dang, mind is a terrible thing to lose. I was going to talk some. You're noisy. Oh, what was it? Brain.
Was it about the game? No, the question 2.21. You said you were going to explain a little bit about that last question on our homework.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's that one. I did see. I'm glad you guys were paying attention. So question, problem number 2.21. This problem wants you to take a variable, and okay, we're just going to cheat and borrow these ones here, and it wants you to save like my table to a data file, clear the variables, and reload it. And I think I have an announcement coming out on oh no, is that that might be on the fprintf, or no, it's on the save, is it? Oh man, I did the local variables, data tables, loading. Ooh, I think this one here has the video on it. Oh, it does. Cool, so that'll be coming up. Oh, it's the fprintf format that's in here. Okay. Oh, it was in a text to, or an email to one of the students. So anyway, so to save this file, you type in save. Now, you can use parentheses or not. I don't use them myself. I use a space. Okay, so this has 3 inputs to it. What I want to save it to, okay, I'm going to save it to a data.txt file. Like I say, in this class we use .text and .dat. it doesn't make much difference in the programming other than just the extension name. Sorry, I'm being bothered by a brat. The next thing you need to put in here is what you want to save. If you just do save data and the format, it's going to save everything in that file, well, at least all the values into that data file, and that's not what we want. We just want to save this variable. So we've told it what the file name we're going to create is, and then we're going to tell it what to save. So we want to save the variable my we want to save the variable my table, and that's all it'll save. It'll have all these other variables in there, but it's only going to save that one. And then the last thing we have to put in is the format, and in this class we use ASCII 2. So that'll be your save command. Okay, and a lot of students will get that far. Some of them will leave out this, and but they quit reading the problem. The next thing it says in the problem is to clear your variables and then reload the data file. Okay, so what the clear does, you'll see over here in the workspace I have 3 variables in there, but if I type in clear, they're gone, so there's nothing there. So we clear it. Now how do we get the file back in? I will tell you how we get the file back in. You use the load command. Okay, and I did see in the announcements, and when is that scheduled to come out? May 22nd. Oh, it should be coming out tonight at 9 o'clock. No, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Why is it delayed? I don't know. The load command. This here is another one of those that can be done with parentheses and without. For this class, you don't need the parentheses. Just put a space afterwards. You type in the name of the data file that you want to load, and that's it. And MATLAB will load that file in, and it'll be called data. And we're not talking commander data. This is just data. So now if we run this, you'll see here that we now have a file called data. And if we wanted to see what that is, we could open it up and see that it is this data right here. So these are the 2 lines that a lot of students leave out, and some of them just write save. But anyway, so yeah, is that clear as mud, or did it actually help anybody?
Yeah, that helps quite a bit.
Okay. There was one more thing that I only have 2 functioning brain cells, and I tend to forget a lot. Okay, well, if I remember what it was, I'll post it as an announcement. Any questions, comments? Somebody's outside having fun. How can I run MATLAB on Linux? Ooh, I don't know. I can see if anybody else. I know it's doable in on an iMac, but I'll have to check on that. People are leaving me. Oh, so sad.
Professor, I have a question.
Okay, I got one answer left.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So when you want to like recall one of the variables, is there a way that we don't have to type the whole name, or we all the time have to type it?
In your code here.
Yeah. For example, if you don't want to type, I don't know, my table all over again, is there a way that we can just hit something and just look for the variable?
I know I've seen it. It may be in here where I've seen that. Uh, to be honest with you, I don't have an answer to that. Um, I do know that if you have
Yeah.
the variable throughout your code and you change one, you can hit, I think, Shift Enter, and it'll change them all.
Okay.
Um, I know I've seen that because it's caused me problems once or twice because I didn't want to change all of them, just some of them.
Oh well. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking if there may be a way, because sometimes it's just a pain in the butt to just write the whole name.
Yeah.
But if not, I guess I can just copy and paste. So
Yeah,
that's not a
copy and
big
paste.
deal.
Now I know over here, if you've done it, we got to do that one too. I'm writing this one down so I don't forget it. If you got commands over here that you've used, you can use the arrow up and it'll bring them in.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that I was, because I know I saw it, I guess in the book,
Yeah.
but I just didn't remember where to put it.
Yeah, I know you can do that in the command window. So it doesn't matter if you use .text or dot. No, it doesn't matter. Just like I say, use the data files that I give you. If you deviate from that, please send me a copy.
Oh, okay.
The practice exercises for the 5th edition are not. So if you have an older version, use the practice exercises in that book. Just be aware you may lose a point or two for those that are not present in the earlier versions that are in the 5th edition. Or you can get a hold of one of your friends, or maybe if you're really nice, I could probably, don't tell Holly, but I could scan it and get it to you. So one last thing for me, unless there's more questions. 'Cause, wow, we've been an hour. Cool. If as you're doing your homework and you're sitting there, you're getting frustrated and you really need to take a break, here is one thing that might entertain you for at least a few seconds. Just go into the command window and type Y and hit enter, and then hit arrow up and hit enter, and repeat as often as you like. I don't know how long it'll go before it repeats, but it's quite somewhat entertaining. Okay, well, like I say, I'll try to do this every Thursday night. I don't foresee any issues coming up in the near future with all of the quarantining. I don't get out much. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and my drugs makes me a high risk for the virus. I don't expect to get it. I hope not. But it also means that I don't travel. We're supposed to go to Bear Lake this weekend. We're not going. So I should be available on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. I don't have any other classes other than this one, so I shouldn't have any overruns. Again, I am your resource. Use me, abuse me, and throw me out with yesterday's trash. I am good with it. I've been doing it for years. Oh, I guess the bad news for the semester